I am in Atlanta, Georgia at the Center for Puppetry Arts, which is home to the Worlds of Puppetry Museum. This fine institution, containing a puppetry theater and workshops alongside the museum, was opened by Jim Henson and Kermit the Frog back in 1978. Notice that there is an inflatable Yukon Cornelius at the entrance. That is because they have a special Christmas display right now, featuring two iconic and rarely shown puppets. Here are the Rudolph and Santa Claus puppets from the classic 1964 Rankin-Bass stop-motion Christmas film, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. These are believed to be the only two surviving puppets from the historic animation, which was probably my favorite Christmas movie when I was young, so these are pretty amazing to see. While these puppets are definitely authentic from the film's production, their actual usage and provenance is questionable. It is believed that Arthur Rankin, one of the big heads at Rankin-Bass, gifted these two puppets and possibly some others to an employee. Said employee's family tossed them into an attic of misfits where they severely deteriorated over several decades, so the other puppets like possibly Hermie, Yukon Cornelius, or the freaking Bumble most likely completely melted. It's also a shame that Sam the Snowman disintegrated, as he was voiced by the great Burl Ives. Rudolph and Santa were located around 2005 and were brought onto Antiques Roadshow, where they were verified then restored. There are some pictures of the restoration process. You can see how Santa looked pretty rough there, with half of his mustache missing. Now around that time when these puppets first came on the market, Rankin-Bass historian Rick Goldschmidt claimed that these were the screen-used puppets, but he has since gone back on that and said they were just promotional puppets intended for publicity photo shoots. Also back in 1964, these two may have been displayed at the NBC studio at Rockefeller Center as advertising. It does kind of make sense that these were just promotional puppets, given that just Rudolph and Santa exist. Regardless of whether these puppets were used in the animation itself, they were sold at auction in 2020 for $368,000 to an anonymous buyer, and that individual has graciously loaned these puppets to the center during special holiday displays, so the public can enjoy these pop culture treasures. They have been well restored and it's great to appreciate these small puppets up close. The Rudolph puppets were designed and built in Japan by MOM Film Studio. These two puppets are both less than a foot tall and created out of wood, wire, yak hair, leather, and other fabrics. Also notice the electric wiring on Rudolph. They actually put a red light in his nose to make it glow. It really is awesome to see these two puppets which I watched growing up, though I do wish the others, especially the Bumble, had survived. There are some other iconic holiday puppets on display alongside Rudolph, such as these Muppet Reindeer. They were created by Jim Henson and performed on the Ed Sullivan Show for the 1968 Christmas special. Here is Emmett Otter's Jug Band. Several of the authentic puppets used in Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas special in 1977, which was directed by Jim Henson. And this is Salem the Cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It is an animatronic puppet that was custom designed for a Christmas episode. You can see the robotic details below the cats. Also, here's a 1950s Rudolph ride from Atlanta's Old Montgomery Ward department store. Now let's explore the Worlds of Puppetry Museum, which covers the global history of the puppetry arts. This is an intricate wood-carved marionette of a knight from Sicily. Some Native American groups, particularly in the Pacific Northwest, have puppets associated with totems. This was made by a member of the New Chanul people. Here are some puppets from Central and South America, an area which has generated a culturally fused puppet culture combining traditions of the old and new worlds. This is a lumberjack from the 1850s. These jig dolls were common in the United States back then. The lumberjack would be made to dance around on a board. This is the Population Puppets, a large political puppet effigy made by Peter Schumann, the founder of the politically charged Bread and Puppet Theater in Vermont, which I hear is an interesting place. I definitely want to visit it. That Mad Hatter marionette on the right from the 1920s was made by Tony Sarg. the man who came up with the idea for balloon floats at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which were directly inspired by marionettes. There are some WPA-era puppets. During the Great Depression, the Works Progress Administration employed a variety of artists, including puppeteers, who would travel around the country and perform during the 30s. In the mid-20th century, with the advent of television, puppet shows became quite popular, including Howdy Doody. Sadly, there is no Howdy Doody here. However, they do have this icon of pop culture history, Wayland Flowers' Madame marionettes, which was performed in popular 70s and 80s comedy sketches. After Wayland Flowers died during the AIDS epidemic, it was widely reported that he was buried with Madame. However, that was not true. I love these marionettes of Mae West and Carol Channing. These are not quite as flattering as their real counterparts were. Here are some marionettes from the New England Marionette Opera, the only marionette opera in America. There are some stop-motion puppets from films and TV shows on display. Here is the Corpse Bride and Victor Van Dort. These figures were screen used in the Tim Burton animated film. Here's another true icon, an authentic Gumby from 1962 used in the classic TV show. I wish they had Pokey too. And here is the Chucky puppet used in the 2021 TV series about the murderous doll. Creepy. These are rod puppet robots from the cult classic series Mystery Science Theater 3000. Their mechanized mouths were controlled by a remote control. Here's a display about Punch and Judy shows. These are somewhat crude comedies from Britain which have existed for centuries. Most of these are late 20th century marionettes of Punch, Judy, and other related characters. These are still common street shows across England. Here are some Spanish puppets of a prince and princess. This is a black soldier from the Opera dei Pupi of Sicily. There is a strong puppetry heritage in Sicily. Here's an Italian Commedia dell'arte theater, a form of puppet show which began in the 1500s that would use characters from other mediums of theater and create comical scenarios with them in puppet form. This is fun. Visitors can actually operate an old Sicilian dragon marionettes. A lot of wonderful craftsmanship goes into these puppets. It's quite a remarkable art form. Here are some characters that were once performed at the Salzburg Marionette Theater in Austria. And here are some puppets from Central and Eastern Europe. This is a prototype mask for Mufasa made in 1997 during the production of the Lion King Broadway show. I have had the opportunity to see the Lion King in Paris, as well as some smaller scale shows at some Disney theme parks, and the costumes and large animal puppets are absolutely fantastic. The puppets are definitely one of the highlights. And here's a prototype mask for Scar. On the left is a Galede mask. Such masks and puppets are used in the annual Yoruba Galede ceremonies in Nigeria, which honor women. These pieces were created by James Webster of New Zealand, who makes these traditional Maori karitau figures. This is an intricate portable glove puppet staged from China. China has a great history of puppetry, including shadow puppets, which are believed to originate from the Han court thousands of years ago. These are some large bunraku, puppets from Japan which are life-size. They look more like dolls. This is Ravana, a 10-headed demon from the ancient Indian epic The Tales of Rama and Sita. Here are some examples of Kaputli, marionettes used to tell the tale of the legendary hero Amar Singh Rathore in northern India. Here are some puppets from Koktugaksi, Korea's traditional puppet theater which would travel around in troops offering satirical views of daily life during the Three Kingdoms period. And we'll end off with this really awesome form of puppetry, They have a mock setup of Moi Roi Nu, the water puppet shows of Vietnam. Yes, they have a historical form of puppetry that literally dances out on the water. I would love to see a performance of this. There's a dragon that used to be out on the water, and it could actually shoot fireworks from its mouth. So I really enjoyed this museum. It was incredible to see some iconic puppets like Rudolph and Santa. Definitely visit this museum if you're in the Atlanta area. But that's not all, as there is a phenomenal Jim Henson exhibit as part of this museum that is featured in a separate video which is linked in the description. If you enjoyed this video, then please check out my other content featuring other unique museums, historic locations, roadside attractions, and much more here in Atlanta, as well as around America and Europe. Also, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching!